Welcome to the I Create Daily podcast. I'm Leora Alderson.
And I'm Devani Alderson. We are your co-hosts on this journey of creativity and productivity.
I Create Daily is for artists in every genre of creating, from musicians to writers, crafters to inventors, bloggers to entrepreneurs. I Create Daily is a movement for creators serious about your art.
If you're into creating anything, this podcast is definitely for you. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey.
Welcome to the I Create Daily podcast, a movement for creators serious about their art. I'm Leora.
And I'm Devani, and today we're joined by Adil Amarsi, an entrepreneur, speaker, podcaster, and author. People read, listen, or watch Adil's material to discover how to make the complex stuff simple, increase sales and revenue, and turn their passions into profitable businesses. So welcome.
Yeah,
hey.
Welcome.
Hi, Leora.
Yep, you got it.
Leora and Devani. Hey, guys. How you guys doing? Thank you for having me on here.
You're welcome to have. We're glad to have you. You're coming here all the way from rainy, cold England right now. What part of England are you in?
I'm in London right now, which isn't as rainy, but it is cold. I will say that much.
Yeah, and we're here in North Carolina, USA. So we love origin stories. And so we want to start in shortly hearing about yours. But we know that part of yours includes copywriting, though you are a retired copywriter. But before we get into hearing your story, can you clarify for our audience what copywriting is, in particular as it pertains to creatives, entrepreneurs, as opposed to, say, Fortune 500 companies?
Okay, cool. So I'm very glad you asked that because there are two different types. There's copywriters, the copywriter, and there's copywriters who are like me, which is copy and then writer like writer. So essentially what we do is, if anyone's watched Mad Men, the TV show, essentially season 1, Don Draper, that kind of thing is what we do. David Ogilvy, not Ogilvy and Mathis now as it is, but it was in the 60s. Essentially our job, and the best way I can position what I do personally, because it doesn't work with everyone, but this is what they're supposed to do. There's two types. There's brand copywriting, which is what you see with Fortune 500 companies going, hey, we got Justin Timberlake eating our burger at McDonald's. We should go there. And it's associative. Whereas direct response copywriting, which is what artists should be using, and we're going to discover that, we're going to talk about that later as well, is all about the idea of how you can essentially send out an advertisement or do something that's advertise worthy, and basically get the money back for that thing that you paid for before the money leaves your bank account initially. So say, for instance, you bought ad space on, I don't know, like Facebook. You bought Facebook ads for whatever it was. You spent $200. A copywriter's job is to make you that $200 back before it leaves your bank account, usually. Wow. I mean, our job is essentially the idea of salesmanship, or salespersonship, as I call it, in print. So that's essentially what it is, to give you guys an idea. My job is essentially turning words into money, or turning your story into something that you can use to bring in clients, perspectives, and so on.
Fantastic. And we will pick up that theme a little bit more as well, because there are some questions that we have about that will help our audience to connect that more specifically to their own brand and their own story. But tell us, how did you, I think you started at 18 as a copywriter?
Professionally, yes. I actually started a lot younger than that, actually.
So tell us,
So it's kind of strange because, like, 2 days ago, before this, we did this interview, I actually spoke to a very good friend of mine about what my role was and how I got into where I am. Essentially, my dad was paralyzed from the waist down when I was 5 years old. And anyone that studies psychology knows that the conscious brain isn't formed fully and doesn't start forming fully until the age of 7. So the last 2 years are where all your learned behavior and your social interaction dynamics are all built in between 5, 6, and 7. It's that time period. Now that time, I have an older sister, and she loved watching Nickelodeon and basically Fox Kids and stuff like that. We used to get over here. There were more teenage shows, whereas I was a child, so I loved cartoons. So we would always get into an argument about who could watch what. At this point, my dad was paralyzed from the waist down for 2 years. I essentially learned the codex, or the key code, or the cheat code, if you will, which was sit next to my father, watch whatever he was watching until he got up, and then I could watch what I wanted without having to fight my sister for it, because I'm like, I put in time, I can sit here. So I essentially ended up just doing that. My dad's favorite thing to watch for some reason was the Home Shopping Channel. Like, he loved watching QVC on the Home Shopping Channel. So like 2 hours a day, 6 days a week for 2 years, I was watching the greatest pitchmen of all time pitch products. And of course, their structure, their words, everything just fell into my brain. It's always been there. And it really kind of came as a realization when I look back at it when I was 8 years old. My mother kind of, she meant it, she didn't mean it in a bad way, but she was just saying to me, as she would, she was like, you know what, you're a really good manipulator, because I used to wait for her to get on the phone to talk to my aunt. And when she was talking to my aunt, I'll run and bug her so I could watch or play on my PlayStation. And that would annoy my sister and my cousins, because they're like, we were watching something. I was like, Mom said I can play. And I'd just go do that. And they used to hate me for it a lot. Fast forward to like 12, 13 years old, my parents had pulled into my teacher's office during parent-teacher day. And the progress that they gave that my teachers gave to my parents was, he's very good at art. He's very skilled as an artist, because I used to draw from memory. So you could show me one thing once, and I would sit there and sketch it permanently. Like, I'd have the visual memory for it always. So I always think in pictures. Like, that's, even to this day, I think very visually. I'm terrible at artwork right now as an adult, because I stopped doing it for so long. But essentially, there was a reason I brought that up. But what happened was, my parents were told by my teacher, when Adil writes a page or anything, any sort of work, if he makes a single mistake, instead of crossing it out or letting it be, he tears out the page and starts again. Which one of my friends is a teacher. She said you should really get tested to see if you're on the autistic scale. Thankfully, back then they didn't throw drugs at you right away when they saw this. They kind of let you develop, and just thought it was me being slightly slower than I should be. So my parents at this point, my commute to school and back was 20 minutes. So I went to high school or middle school, I think it is for you guys. I was 12, 13 years old.
Yeah, that would be middle school, yeah.
I went there. For us, it's secondary school, which is strange as a thing as it is, because I know we have college and university as well. While I was there, I essentially got told, like, I just essentially, my parents my dad used to drag me back to his company, because my dad started walking again. His legs were okay underneath him, and so was his back. I used to go to his office, and I used to write stories for him, just about whatever I could see around me. It could be just like a pencil, it could be a stapler, it could be anything I saw at his desk. I'd write stories about it, or I'd write about his products because I thought they were fun. And I did this for a while, and then my parents separated for a short period. I mean, we moved to one part of the city. My dad was in another. My commute to school went from 20 minutes there and back to 2 hours a day, an hour on the bus, an hour on the back. And I spent a lot of my time around a lot of creative people. So I was very much into the early 2000, like start of 2000, late 90s to mid 2000s R&B, hip hop, and rap scene. I loved producing music. I loved playing instruments. I loved rapping to it. It was just a thing for me. I grew up in a really tough neighborhood. So around that, I stopped doing artwork because my teacher was very rigid in how he wanted art to be done. As you know, you don't really force rigidity into art forms. It's always free flow, and that's what you create. It just got to a point where I left art, and I was like, I don't want to draw anymore. I'm hanging out my pencils. I'm over with this. And I focused on songwriting. And all at the same time, I was still writing stories. My teachers were always telling me that I'm writing really well at school. Fast forward to 15. And by the way, I'm taking the long way around because this is just stuff I've discovered recently. So I went from art to hip hop and rap music and production, songwriting, to poetry slams and writing slam poetry. And I have 3 published poems. I don't know where they are anymore, but like they were published in the UK. And they were really, really good poems for like a 16-year-old to like write. And eventually I turned 18. And I remember I was 18. When I was 17, I got my results back for my first year of what's the grade system over in the US? Like when you're in high school, at the end of high school, you're in the 12th grade or 11th grade?
12th grade, yeah.
Okay, so 11th grade, for us, 10th grade, you leave traditional schooling, then you go into college, which is optional, and then you go to university. So essentially at the end of the 10th grade, it's 11 grades that you guys have, right?
For the US, it's 11. Yeah,
11, right.
Yeah.
So at 10th grade, I got my results back to get me into what would be my 11th grade. My teacher failed me because she couldn't read my handwriting, because we later found out I'm dyslexic.
Yep.
And I have ADD. And trust me, those are both blessings to anyone that's listening. I'll explain why as well. So 18, 17 years old, I decided to leave schooling. I decided to start working in a game store because I love games. I turn 18. My martial arts mentor at the time takes me into network marketing. I start my first network marketing business. I do really well. We unfortunately fall out at the time. And I start looking at the internet as a way to actually grow my business. And I wasn't very good at getting people to look at my website, but I was really good at getting them buying. I didn't know what was going on. It wasn't until I reached the seminar a year later, just shortly before, I think it was my 20th birthday, where someone said to me, what are you good at? And I said, I'm really terrible at getting traffic, but I've had 10 people visit my website and 7 of them given me money.
Whoa.
And they were like, 70% of your visitors give you money. I'm like, yeah, isn't that normal? They're like, no, that's 3% is good. 70 is astronomical. You're a copywriter. Go tell everyone this. So I essentially kind of started doing that. I remember going back home, and it's one of the few times me and my dad have actually had a really good conversation about this. And I said to him, Dad, I'm going to be a copywriter. And he was like, okay, wait here. My dad went upstairs. My parents were back together at this point. Went upstairs and pulled down a folder, and he showed me his folder. He goes, read the first 3 ads and tell me what you think. So I read the first 3 ads. I was like, these look really familiar. Turns out my dad used to take my stories down to his copywriters, have them edit it, write the headline, tweak my grammar, put a call to action, and mail it out. So it was basically everything I'd done for so long. So it all very, very naturally came to me from a very young age. And that's essentially how I started my journey. And now I'm 28 and 39 days old, exactly to that exact point of the recording of the show. And yeah, I mean, we're closing into $400 million in confirmed sales for my clients. I've just signed one of my biggest deals that Tavani knows about, and it's just incredible. I mean, it's been one hell of a journey through ups and downs, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
I mean, all entrepreneurial journeys are. So, and that's the thing, those who succeed are those who keep on going, and also tweaking as we go to what makes the most sense next.
Mm-hmm.
So for instance, on your bio, basically it says you're retired from copywriting, but you're an entrepreneurial, you're a podcaster, and you're a speaker. So what is it that you're spending most of your time doing now?
I actually spend most of my time consulting, which is fun because I have this very rare, unique ability to verbalize sales copy quicker than most people can think. I was talking to a friend of mine about this yesterday, and he was like, yeah, it took me 12 hours to write this full sales page over 2 weeks. And it was like, and he goes, it just amazes me that other people say that you do it so well. And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, what's the fastest you've ever written a letter? Like, if I was sitting down to write it, about 6 hours. If we're talking verbalizing it, it took me 7 minutes to like write a full sales page, start to finish, and everything, get it out there and just have it transcribed. And that's essentially what I spend most of my time with. So I look at businesses, optimize their client funnels, or their lead attraction funnels, or whatever it is that you guys want to say. And basically getting someone from free to paid, work all their emails, strategize their business, and show them exactly what they're doing to see how they can bring in more customers. The podcast is still probably my thing that I do for fun. I don't optimize it as much as people think. I essentially don't edit. I get on there, I do it in one take, and then throw it up online. If it's terrible, it's terrible. If it's awesome, it's awesome. But my guests are the ones that I really love having on there. Right now I'm actually writing a book as well called The Alchemy of Persuasion, which is all about how, which is all about how influence is one side of a coin, manipulation is the other, and persuasion is that tiny little bit in the middle as you turn it sideways. So you got to borrow from the light and the dark to have it there. Bar that, as Devani knows, I've got my sales course coming out teaching people how to write copy as well. And even though I am technically retired from copywriting, which means I'm not actively looking for clients, if the right piece does come along, I always say yes to get the right. It just has to be the right deal for me. Otherwise, it's a no-go for me. But I do love helping people. So that's essentially what I spend most of my time doing nowadays. And playing with my cats and doing jiu-jitsu and stuff.
You have an awesome was it Bengal tiger cat, or I forget what it's called, but I've seen it.
I've got two of them. There's two Bengals, the little Bengal cats. There's a boy and a girl. One's sleeping on top of my fridge in her bed, and the other one's camped out on the right of me. It's kind of impressive that he's not woken up yet, because he knows if I'm on camera, it's usually his time to shine, not mine.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
A camera ham. That makes sense. Well, we're animal lovers too. We have 3 dogs and 1 cat right now. So,
what breed dogs? I love animals, so.
Yeah, so we have, one that you're familiar with in the UK are Cavalier King Charles Spaniels. So we have one of those. Devani has.
I have a Maltese.
And cute.
Yeah, her brother has a foundling that turns out to be a Rottweiler, which is a Labrotti, which is part Labrador Black Lab and part German Rottweiler. So, and so we have our little gadgets in case the dog alarm goes off during our podcast. We have these little beepers where they have these training collars that send them a little beep and let them know that it's not the time to bark. Should that happen. But so I wanted to ask about, if we can dive in a little bit to the copywriting and storytelling for artists and creatives. It's kind of odd. We're creatives, we have websites, we sell products, and so we need to do sales and marketing, but like many creatives, that's not our strength and not what we most love to do.
And it's one of those things where you're like, you have to do it. It kind of makes you cringe a little bit when doing it, and sometimes it's like, the elements, you need to tell a story, you need to put yourself out there, but it's just like, where do you even start?
Yeah, and then being in the marketing genre for 7 years or so now, we've been marketed to so much that we tend to immediately hop off if it's a long copy sales page. It's like, okay, I know what this is about, I'm going to hop off. And it's like we don't care for those. So we're trying to help ourselves and other creatives as well learn how to tell a story, because really it's all about story. And yet to do so in a way that honors people's time. So it's not salesy, not long. It's not, but basically it's like what you were doing when you were a child. So the other part of it that fascinates me, I don't want to hop around too much, but so many thoughts are coming to mind as you're talking. And it's like, you're not a parent yet, correct?
No, I'm a cat dad.
Cat dad.
That's what I am.
So, but it's fascinating for parents to consider how your skill developed. So and I would be interested in knowing from you as well at some point whether or not you have any interest in getting back to art, whether that was a passing fancy, because it's like there's so many areas and ways that we develop and end up doing what we're doing, right? Regardless of whether that's purpose or soul or happenstance.
Yeah, to answer that question, I am. I actually started doing a lot more sketch art for my own work, and I'm also an amateur photographer, so I do a lot of amateur photography.
He's amateur, but when you look at his photos, they're really great.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I had no idea that they were that good. Because for me, I just look at them. I'm like, I just see a really good photo. I take it. My personal favorite photo was the one I took about 4 weeks ago. I was walking down the street just as the sun was setting over a building. And for some reason, I took it on my phone. I couldn't actually get the light correctly. So I had to initially I tried to take the photo and it was just super exposed. So I dimmed it down. And as I dimmed it down, it said no entry at the bottom, but it didn't take the entry. It just said no down an empty street. And it looked absolutely amazing. It's my favorite photo that I've taken so far.
Interesting.
Awesome.
But no, I'm definitely back into the art scene. Art galleries are some of my favorite places to visit. I'm a huge comic book nerd and anime nerd. So one of the things I didn't really discuss was I used to be a voice actor as well. So I do like doing voices whenever I create characters.
You guys have a lot in common. She hasn't done it, but she's great with voices, and she's thought about it would be fun to.
You should totally do it. Reach out to Jex. Lucas's wife.
I don't know who that is.
I'll do an introduction. She's an amazing voice actor out in California. Her husband's really, really cool as well. So I'll introduce you guys. Okay. But to get back to the point, though, is how does someone actually do this? The first thing I want to address is don't worry about the length of the letter that's reading. The rule is quite simple. Your goal is to always get someone to read the next sentence. And that's it. That's how you make it easy. And the second is you want to be clear and not so much concise, but you want to give enough information for someone to make an intelligent decision, an emotionally intelligent decision. And here's what I mean. You can say, I will give you $1 million, right? I'll teach you to make $1 million in 2 weeks if you buy this product for $50 right now. Now, that sounds far. Again, you got to keep in the realms of reality. I'm using an absurd version, but stuff like that used to work 10, 20 years ago online. Mm-hmm. Now that worked simply because it was absurd. It was out there. People didn't write long pages. They wrote very short. They told you what you were getting, and you were like, emotionally buy. But then you'd always get buyer's remorse, refund rates would be really high, and everything would go down the toilet. So you want to essentially, the way you minimize all of this is by giving enough information for someone to make an intelligent decision, but you make it emotional enough for them to do so. And the way you do this is quite simple. As an artist, myself, as someone that I do consider myself an artist because my art form is also martial arts, as in the sense of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's human movement as well.
Awesome.
And writing, because I'm an author as well in fiction. What I always say...
No.
Okay.
We'll get into that later.
I didn't even know
we'll
that.
Get into that. Yeah, no, it's I've got something coming out next year, so I'll discuss that in a moment. But what I do essentially is when you're sitting down to write a story, you want to start with 5 questions that you want to answer, essentially. Number 1 is, who am I selling to? And I don't mean like a customer avatar, because that's been done out the wazoo. Essentially, what you do is very basic work. And very basic, by that I mean in the sense of, are they male or female, or are they both? Are they age range, whatever it is? What is their biggest pain? And immediately right after, what is their biggest pleasure? Like, what would bring them the most pleasure? And the reason I bring that up is because I don't like copywriters that say you want to stab a knife into someone's back, twist it until they're in pain, and then your problem is your solution that you're selling will remove the knife. Don't do that, in my opinion, because you end up with a lot of painful people as artists.
Yeah, you
end up in the starving artist mode because you hate the corporate bull crap that people put out there and the rhetoric. So the easiest way around this is you want to be the pleasure giver. And I wrote a post about this recently where what you want to do is you want to highlight the pain, which is why you know it's the greatest pain. For instance, for artists, I'd say attention-starving artists, how about you no longer have to worry about getting clients by using this very simple system that allows you to just plug and play and bring clients coming to you ready to give you cash in hand. What I've done is more or less I've said, okay, starving artists is a pain point. I have it, and getting clients is pain, but what's the ultimate pleasure? That you don't have to hunt for clients anymore. They come to you and pay you. Mm-hmm. So you eliminate that. You become the pleasure giver. Mm-hmm. And by doing so, when you're telling your story, and this is the key area that I always tell people, there is a checklist I use. I will run through it very quickly. And at the end of it, Tavani, I will send you a copy of said checklist, 15 points. You guys can give it away, or we can put it on my site or something. I don't really care, as long as people can use it. It's essentially the run through is this. You want to have a strong headline that's beneficial to the person. You want to have a sub-headline that continues on and creates intrigue. Then you want to have an opening paragraph, and the opening paragraph is continuing the sub-headline. So you don't, what you see with a lot of sales letters that work-ish, but they don't do well, is they say, discover how you can start being a starving artist tomorrow. And by the way, the key thing here is always use an ellipsis at the end of big headlines because it keeps people reading. 3 dots. Mm-hmm. It's a very powerful psychological thing. Yeah. Your subheadline is, if you are a starving artist and you don't like selling, then read every word below. If I went from that to, dear friend, my name is Adil Amarsi, that just sounds really weird. If I said to you from that position and said, then read every word below, I know where you're coming from right now because I was in that position myself. The thing is, I hated selling because a lot of the corporate shills actually sell out. A lot of people that become big-time artists sold out and didn't put in their time of work. And I get it. Creating something in perfection of the art form is more important than getting paid for it. But so is rent, and so is being able to afford the art supplies that you want and live the life you deserve. So my question to you is, what would it be like if you couldn't have both? Yeah. And as someone that's made it on the other side, I can tell you it's fantastic. I can spend days just sitting and looking at my sculpture and thinking, how am I going to make you? And I have no time. I have no pressure from other people telling me when I need to do it. Yeah. And more importantly, my client book is completely booked out with commission work that is coming in for months at a time. And in a moment, I'm going to share with you how you can do the exact same thing. But first, allow me to introduce myself. Mm-hmm. At that moment, I've given you every reason under the sun to listen to me. Yeah. Now, the next question psychologically that comes up is, who is this person? Which is point number 4. introduce yourself.
Mm-hmm.
When you talk about who you are, you talk about, hi, my name is so-and-so, and this is my journey. You tell them you can, if you were like them, or you can just say, unfortunately, I've never been in that starving artist situation, but my friends have. I come from a position where thankfully my parents, who are artists, gave me the exact formula or system, or I have a friend in sales that taught me how to sell, or I'm very good at it naturally. And I found that a lot of my friends are not very good at selling. So what I did was I devised a system to help them and myself, and I broke it down and I gave it to them, and they did this amazing stuff. And that's how I came to the discovery that I could help more people using the internet. And this is why you're reading this today.
You just wrote a complete copy for someone's course. So that's
pretty much, yeah. This is what I do. Like when I jump on calls, it's just very much like my brain just runs through its own thing. So you would do something along those lines, and then you'd introduce the product, which is, you have your story of how you found the product, which is point number 5. Point number 6 is introduction to the product. Point number 7 is as much detail as you can about what's inside said product. Or if you're an artist, from here you go from your story is in why they should hire you. So you're let's just say that you are an artist trying to sell your work. Your headline would be along the lines of, imagine how good that bare wall in your bedroom would look with a fantastic piece of art that is dedicated to you and you alone, that has symbolism to you.
Mm. Yeah.
Or something along those lines. Just say, if you are a fan of art but always wondered how you can fill your home looking like look like a professional art studio gallery with amazing pieces, but you don't want to spend thousands of dollars, then read every word below. My name, and then you can just go into my name is so-and-so. You can just say one of my clients, or you can just say Jennifer was like this. She came to me and she said all these things and she wanted it. At the end of the day, when we complete the art piece for her, she was so happy. Before I tell you a little bit more about how Jennifer met me, let me introduce myself. Hi, my name is, James Lee, and I'm an artist from New York City, or from North Carolina, wherever it is. And essentially what I do is I create custom art pieces for people that are dedicated to them. This is why I'm different.
Right.
Tell them why you're different. Like, do you have a specific style of art that you work in? And if you work in that art, what makes you different? Like for me, when I'm being a writer or a copywriter, what makes me different is I can take anyone's brain and within 5 minutes be able to write amazing sales copy for them to bring customers through the door. And the only reason is because I've done it so many times. I've practiced for so many hours.
Right.
So that same thing is, you can just say, I may have practiced for 10,000 hours using the same technique, but more importantly, what you can say and position it is, I'm the foremost expert in, or I am known as, my clients know me as, and then give yourself a name, as the paint whisperer, or the sculpting master. The reason they call me these is just quite simply because what I do is when I sit down and tell them about your process, like Devani, something that you do because you are an artist, you can actually just say something along the lines of, when I sit down to do graphic pieces, I listen to what my client wants, but more importantly, I take their words and remember the visual images that come to me with the emotion they give me. And if I have those emotions, then I translate that emotion into the image that's in my mind onto a canvas that you can see and fall in love with, because that's exactly what an artist's job is to do. And I can tell you, I'm one of the best at what I do, or I'm very good at what I do because I've done it. And this is what all my clients say. And then that leads you to point, you've told them headline, subheadline, opening paragraph, who you are, story of how you became such a good artist, an introduction to the idea of hiring you or buying your product. And now you back it up with testimonials. Then you follow it with the price point, and you tell them exactly how much it is to hire you. For artists out there thinking of going down this path, I'd always say get them to do a consultation for you that's paid, not free. Just say it's only, just say the average price of my work sells for, $1,000. Say that it only costs you $50 to actually book a 30-minute to an hour-long consult with me, where we get an idea if we can work together. If at the end of the thing you do want to move forward, we move that $50 towards a $1,000 down payment. If not, then you can either refund them or just say, or I can give you an idea of sketches that you've actually paid $50 for. It's completely up to you how you want to do the business model. Then you just ask them to take the action. This is where everyone fails, in my opinion. A lot of people don't get direct with the action. They just say, okay, if you feel like doing this, then bye. No, you want to tell them, if you want to work with me, if you want to book this call, if you want to buy my thing, here's what you do next. click this button, fill out this form, send me money, do this, book some time with me. And this is something else I wrote about recently. It's all about removing fear. Tell them what happens next. Once you send me money, you'll receive an email that will say this. Mm-hmm. Or once you click this link, you'll see a page. There's our order page, and you can just complete your order. After that, you'll be taken here. Tell them what they're going to see next. As soon as they do that, because if they click on something and they don't see what they think that you already described, then ultimately you've lost them, because at that point, the fear kicks in. They're like, okay, I don't need to be here. But if it goes correct, which it should, because it's a system of like online variables and stuff, what you've done is essentially tell someone that, hey, this is normal. You've been there. You've gone there in the mind. Now go there in the body. And they've removed all the fear around them. And that's really powerful. And it's all about removing fear. Then finally, just if you have a reason to get a guarantee, you give a guarantee. And if you have any bonuses, you can give them a bonus, such as if you're the type of person that's booking a consult, just saying if at the end of the 30 minutes you're not 100% satisfied with our consultation, you don't want to move forward, you can do the guarantee and say, I'll refund you. Or you can just say, as a bonus, what I'll do instead is I will sketch out an actual idea for you and send it over to you to your email. And you can use it to any length that you want. So you can either hire me or another artist and show them what I did. And you can tell them that I did it so they have an idea to my work.
Wow.
Plain and simple. And then you just sign off quite normally. I look forward to seeing you on the inside. I look forward to hearing from you.
It's so, I mean, the way you lay it out, it's almost like I can imagine you picturing in your mind the exact sequence you go through in writing it. And what I hope our audience recognizes, because if people aren't familiar with the industry, copywriters get paid tens of thousands of dollars, if not hundreds of thousands, to write copy like what you're describing. So for you to be just sharing that freely, the exact structure and the way for people to arrive is amazing. So very much appreciated. Yeah. And you have a great way of describing, explaining it.
Thank you very much. But no, I was just to jump back into it as well, like very quickly. Guys, just to give you an idea, that structure took me 8 years to figure out. Yeah. And at that moment, I think I was at $200 million for my clients in confirmed sales. I mean, my average client pays me $25,000 to sit down and even do this. It's like $5,000 to get me for an hour to consult with them, or 2.5, depending on what it is. So go back, listen to this again, transcribe it if you want to.
We're doing it. Yeah, we're transcribing it. And so I highly recommend people to go through and print out the transcription, highlight it, etc.
Because I think what this ties into too, for any artist that's kind of like struggling between, if you're in that stage where you're almost kind of between the, I know I want to make this my work, and I also kind of still have the starving artist mindset, something that is a great mindset shift in between making that leap is there's this concept, and I think Chase Jarvis coined it, but it's like, I do my big ticket work so I can do the art that I want to do. So if you can get a system down where you can get leads and people buying your art in whatever format it is, whether it's commissioned, whether it's just buying your prints or whatever, your custom pieces, then you have the time created to create whatever you want and do the big visionary artwork that you really want to do without needing to freak out about bills, or money, or all of that stress that takes away from your creativity.
Yeah. Plus what he's described, if someone is an aspiring writer, or is a writer, and it could be a fiction writer or a nonfiction writer, it could be a blog writer, etc., poet. But if they are writing and wanting to make a living with their art, it could be that learning how to do copywriting, taking a 3 to 6 months course, studying what Adil has just shared with us, could be a way for them to, like you said, Devani, support their avocation, their vocation rather, through earning something. Because the thing is, if you're writing copy for someone else, then you also know how to do that for yourself. So that brings me to the next question I wanted to ask you. Yeah. And feel free to jump back. And did you have any comments to what we said first before I jump on?
Just a little bit. I was going to say, if you guys are going to be studying copywriting, make sure you're studying direct response, because it's a little different than story writing, because you actually have to sell. You have to be very good at selling. It's salesmanship in print. It's a lot simpler to teach a salesperson how to write than to get a writer to sell, but it's doable. But I was going to say, remember, there's also other avenues. You can be a ghostwriter. That's another way of actually making great money as well. But that's just an idea that you guys can look into.
Do you have any courses that you know of? I know that you're pretty much self-taught, so you...
Well, he's coming out with a course.
Oh, you're coming out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a course coming out that is teaching people how to go... it's essentially like... It's not so much designed for the reason I created it was to help entrepreneurs and business owners, particularly the like small businesses, take everything I know about website story writing, and by that I mean direct response copywriting, sales letter writing, what we just did right now, email sequences, webinars, which are digital, seminars that you can do with like hundreds of people or tens of people, or thousands in some cases, and also video sales letters, like how to put out video that actually gets people to buy. So it has all my information of how I do things. Now, the cool thing is you can use that same stuff, use it in your business if you're a business owner, listen to this. But if you're an artist, you can actually use the materials of what I'm showing in there to actually understand the art form, because I also teach the art form in there. Now, granted, that is a higher ticket price offer because we are going to be releasing that, I think, at like $997 to $2,000, depending on how it is. But for resources to really get started, my book's not out yet, so I'd always recommend The Alchemy of Persuasion when it comes out, because it does teach this stuff. But the main areas that you really want to look at, there is, I'll say top 5 books. One of them is ultra rare to find, but if you know where to look, because Google is your friend, The Breakthrough Advertising is a brilliant book by Eugene Schwartz. It's one of the best on how to understand how the human mind works to sell to it. Triggers by Joe Sugarman, which is really easy and cheap to get on Amazon. There's like 3 other books. If I had I'm looking at my bookshelves around me right now because I've got so many around me. I'd say from that, I'd also go ahead and read Success Forces, or Seven Forces of Success by Joe Sugarman as well. It's all mindset stuff there, by the way. It really helps your mind elevate. And the reason you need that is because you need to have a strong mind to actually write as well, because it's really, really good to understand that. I'd also recommend The Writer's Journey, or The Hero's Journey, either by Joseph Campbell or I can't remember who wrote The Writer's Journey, but I think it's Christoph Vogels, or Vlogs. Can't remember him. And the last one I'd say is 7 Basic Plots by Christopher Booker. Essentially what he does is he breaks down the 7 basic plots that people use all around every form of story. Now, the reason I recommend this isn't so much the idea to learn how to write copy, but if you're someone that's very animated as an artist that really understands how to tell stories, read that, because it really shows you how to interpret your artwork or your stories or your novellas and create them into what people already associate to sell more of. So all those are recommended resources and books. And one final one for a basic understanding of direct response copywriting that's absolutely brilliant. I would have to say it would either be The Ultimate Sales Letter by Dan Kennedy or Cashvertising by, actually, no, I'm going to take that back. Scientific Advertising by Claude Hopkins. Scientific Advertising is a brilliant book just for that. And if you want to get clients and want to know how to get clients for your artworks, sorry, I'm still remembering a bunch of books right now.
Yeah, great.
Confessions of an Advertising Man by David Ogilvy is brilliant for this, because David built his entire firm and practice up to several millions, if not hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars. And it's the same thing. You just copy the same stuff for getting clients in your marketplace, and it works. So that's essentially what I'd say about before we move on. Sorry.
That's fantastic. So what I wanted to move on to is a little bit about your fiction writing and like what kind of novel you're writing. And then, so this is the hard thing. You kind of described already for artists how they might sell some of their work, the stories, how they might tell stories about their work right before this, which was perfect. So now, as an aspiring or soon to be published fiction author, how will you market your fiction books? How will you write the copy for them?
Okay, that's quite simple. It depends where we sell. Where are we selling our fiction books? Are we using online? Are we using?
Sorry, yeah. So no, it'll be both. So they'll probably be on Amazon, of course. But then, if you want to promote them on Facebook, if you want to have a landing page, say, and then through your social networks. How are you? Or you could even start with, how are you going to sell yours?
Okay, so my strategy is quite simple. I actually went to publishers initially. The reason I did that was because they had a bigger reach than I do. Initially, they know a little bit more about book selling. But what I did on the back end of mine was I created a blog for my main character, and I've been populating it slowly with stories from the book, like the behind the scenes, but as my character to make him seem semi-real, like a slightly semi-real human. And what they do is when someone, I'm not going to tell you guys what it is yet because it's not yet ready. It's another year before we release it. But essentially when someone goes to that website, they can opt in for a notification for when the second book comes out. And I've already written the second and third books as is,
Wow.
and they're going to be self-published.
Wow.
So the first book comes out with a publisher. Books 2 and 3 will be coming out self-published. But by that point, I built a mailing list like of fans I can just mail and they can buy, and I make more money than the company does.
Yeah.
So it's lovely. Now, how I would do this, if you're not like me and you don't have all the ridiculous superpowers that I've built up over the years, here's a simple way that you guys can do it. The simplest and easiest way to do anything is quite simply build an audience. And the way you can do this, like we live in a social media world, it's dead simple. If you have Instagram, you don't have to spend money for it. Just start taking photos and excerpts of your book and upload them, telling people your book is coming out. Then get other people to share that. Facebook, it's even easier. Create a fan page and use boost posts. It's $10 a week to actually boost people checking out your stuff, so that way it takes over on automation. And the stuff that I would actually do is I'd say that I'd give away the first chapter. And how do you sell this on your landing page so simply is what's the most... So Devon, give me an idea, or even Leora, give me an idea of a book. Dead simple. It could be one that's existing, could be one you guys have in mind. I don't really mind, whichever.
Lord of the Rings.
Okay, so Lord of the Rings. How do I do that? Okay, so the landing page for that, if I was to sell Lord of the Rings, I was J.R. Tolkien in today's world and selling this. The first thing I would do is I would write a Facebook piece that was from my book. I'd say I'd find like the most enchanting part of the first Lord of the Rings book, which is not my favorite one because I don't like Fellowship of the Ring. I do like 2000. Screw you, Pippin. Sorry, I have a real hatred. I really have a real hatred for Pippin. Mary, I love. Pippin, jump off a cliff.
No,
and
I'm
die.
the same way.
Yeah, it's a personal thing, I can tell.
Yeah, no, he causes everything. It's his fault. But anyway, sorry, just getting that.
That's okay.
What I would actually do is I'd find the excerpt where Gandalf is literally about to fight the Balrog, and it's about to say, "You shall not pass." At that moment, find the cliffhanger in that moment and put that out as an ad. So find your story as an ad and put that as a cliffhanger and just say, if you want to read what happens next, click the link. They click the link, they go there, they see this page, and it just says, coming date, Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring. Join our heroes as they find the One Ring and explore this crazy Middle-earth universe where orcs, elves, necromancers, wizards, hobbits, dwarves, and humans all coincide in what could be the greatest blockbuster or a complete easy mission. But also, as a thank you for actually clicking and being here, find out what Gandalf, our wizard, is about to say. Enter your name and email address, and I'll send you that entire excerpt as a thank you.
That just makes me want to reread the book.
I know.
Goodness.
That's fantastic.
So you have that, and then directly underneath, I'd have like another author that's like semi-well-known, or someone that is like that's read the book, just saying the testimonial is key. By the way, it doesn't matter if it's like a character testimonial about the book. It could just be reading Lord of the Rings up until now. I have to say this is probably the greatest writing I've read, or it could be what shocked me most was how well J.R.R. Tolkien took the concept of combining wizardry, magic, and all this, and putting it together into a world that's so real and makes you feel like you're a part of it. I would definitely recommend reading this. Putting a testimonial like that, just there, would actually increase response because people now trust it.
Right.
Mhm.
So I'd have that there. I mean, that's the way I'd actually get my book out there. If I was to actually market my book as well, and I was marketing it myself, I'd build a website, and I'd actually have something along the lines of a video of me as the author if I'm comfortable. If I'm not, I'd have an audio. If not, I'd have a letter. And it would be something along the lines of an open letter to fantasy genre specialists. If you are into fantasy and really want to understand how I plan to reboot that entire genre into a new stratosphere and raise the bar, because that is my singular goal, then read every word below.
Yeah.
You probably saw that Gandalf was about to face off against the Balrog, and he just said, "You shall not pass." But what did he mean? Why was he there, and what's happening? Our main characters scurry away, and I'm here to tell you why. But before we get into that, my name is J.R. Tolkien, and I am talk about your story, how you came up with this. As I was going through the marsh pits of the Battle of the Somme in the First World War, I realized the marsh pits were full of dead bodies, and it gave me inspiration, and it was the only thing that kept me sane through the war in order to create this novel of truly epic proportions in this entire world. So I dear reader that I'm sending this to right now, I want to share a very simple thing. This is my life's work of what I've created. It is arguably the best work I've ever put out because everyone that's read it has loved it and asked me for another chapter. But in order to complete my work and get the word out there, we need to sell enough copies to ensure that the word is out there. So here's how you can show your support. As someone that is looking to buy this book, if you decide to purchase Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, which allows me to write the next 2 chapters to show you the conclusion, I want you to invest in getting this. And when you do this, I will send you 2 special bonuses. The first bonus is that I will send you a special handcrafted letter and message inside every book that gets sold within the first 100 copies. And the second bonus, this is applicable to everyone that buys, I will send you a customized character card that is just for you. So as it reaches you, you'll be able to see if you're an elf, an orc, a wizard, a human, whatever it is. You'll be able to find your own character throughout the story. And I want to say thank you for actually being a part of this. If this is something that rings true to you, click the button below, order the book. If you love it, leave a review, and I promise that that'll allow me to write the next thing that I want to do. And also you'll get an exclusive sneak preview through an email that I'll send you that allows you to read the next 2 chapters before the book arrives at your doorstep. So it'll get you really ready and focused. So when you actually get the book, you'll be immersed in the world from the get-go.
Wow. Wow. That's fantastic.
Wow.
So that's how I would do it.
Okay. So you said it's too early to reveal anything about your book. Does that mean that your site is not yet published?
My site's not yet published. I can tell you about the book. I can tell you what the title is currently working as. It's called Dark Corners, a J-City memoir, sorry. And my character is basically a detective, a private detective who in the first book is essentially coming back from seeing his mother, comes back into the city, which is basically, J-City is a fictional city, which is a combination of San Francisco, London, New York, and Tokyo. Uh-huh. So it's a mega city in its own right. And essentially it's being crushed under corruption of its own weight. And he is a private detective who basically works certain cases. The whole story leads off to like several different backstories that I have set up for the next books on the blog as well that we're creating for it. And essentially what it does is follows my character, Riley Hunter Gray, as he is I actually put my cat as one of the characters because I really loved him. I made him the main character. He finds... he's hired basically by the Barrington family who want their child, Chase, who died as a soldier in the war as a private. They saw him on the street, saw his unique birthmark. They walked up to him and talked to him, and they asked him, where have you been? And he looked at them as if he didn't know who they were and walked away. And they knew it was him because of a unique birthmark. So they hire Riley to find out what happened to him. And as he starts to uncover the mysteries of what is going on, he starts to realize exactly where all the soldiers are going and why Chase's death was actually faked. And as the story builds, it shows you more into the character of what's really going on, the sinister plot afoot. And it ends on a cliffhanger. I will say this much. Second and third books actually are like the finale and carry on.
Yeah. And that description, of course, makes you want to read it. Right. Can't wait till it comes out. So you just shared in the same way that you advised us to share and our audience that are fiction writers to share their work. That makes people definitely want to read it and look forward to it coming out.
Well, do you guys have any more questions? Because I'm here for as long as you guys need me. Really.
Well, and we actually had to just scroll past several. We have lots more questions, and we could talk with you all day. You're fascinating. You're so brilliant. It's really interesting to watch how you just immediately effuse a story without a second thought. Yeah. It's clearly your talent. So I'm really glad to hear that you're writing your own fiction stories, and we look forward to closely following your release journey in that way because,
most definitely.
Package. Yeah. So I think maybe it would be great. Well, we do have like one closing question. We have another interview coming up, so we don't have the extra time, unfortunately.
How long do we have?
We have like about 5 more minutes.
Okay, cool. So let's just say you'll go for your closing question, and I'll try and get through it, and we can ask one more. So Devani, pick a secondary question. Leora, you go with the first one because I want to hear what your closing question is.
Okay, So the closing question is mainly just to you've already covered a number of them, like the books and the people that inspired you, like some of the authors that you mentioned. So the main thing is what advice and final concepts, like what are the top things that have helped you make a good living from your art, essentially? What are the...
Okay, so the first one is controversial. I apologize to everyone, but it's not hard, and I'll explain why, is understanding the process of selling. And I'll give you guys the best framework for it. To be a great salesperson, it's like being a great guy on a date. If someone says no, don't push, just say thanks and move on, because that surprises more people than than it really should, because you're like, nope, it's cool. You move on. Yeah. A lot of people are like, wait, aren't you going to keep going? No. Yeah. Why don't you want my business? I don't want your business. It's a really big turnaround, but if you do it sincerely, it just works. So learn how to sell. That's the best thing in the world to do. Number two, I'd say would be understand what your worth is. Like truly understand your value in who you are. Look at the market, definitely, but don't stare at the market for too long. Like, look at the market and go, okay, if I'm charging less than this, I'm not doing well. If I'm charging more than this, I'm doing really well. So don't bring your rates down to match the market. Keep your rates up, but make sure you can deliver to what's there. Third, always ask for referrals and testimonials from clients, friends, patients, everyone you work with, because that will always get you more people through the door. 4, make sure that you actually upload your work. Share what you love to do. Tell people who you are. Be vulnerable and honest in what you do, because that will help you in so many ways. And number 5, probably the most powerful thing that's helped me be who I am, is have a good group of friends. Like Devani's a really good friend of mine. I mean, I love her for who she is, and this wouldn't have happened if she didn't let me know about it. But have people that have your back, support them, let them support you, and always be straight with people. Because if you're struggling, fair enough. Tell people that you're going through a tough time, but don't mope about it. Show them that you're taking action, because to get religious for a moment, as Quakers say, when you pray, move your feet, because when you pray and you're moving your feet, that takes action. Action is reward with more reward. So keep going that way. So those are 5 things I'd tell you to do right now. The 6th and 7th things, there are 2 more. Bonus number 1, number 6, keep a gratitude journal, a journal where all your wins are and everything that you're grateful for. Do this every single day, and I guarantee you'll start seeing things come towards you. It's just an amazing thing. And the 7th thing, and the most powerful thing, drop the word learn from your vocabulary when you're actually selling. Because learn and honesty and let me be honest with you and all that talk puts up walls of barriers of you've been lying to us, and this is going to be hard. Remember, you're talking to other creatives and other people that want to escape the learning aspect. Rather help them discover, show them something, take them on a journey, and definitely check out the stuff I actually mentioned earlier, because that always helps.
Yeah, we definitely will.
Awesome.
Yeah. Do you have an...
And the last question is, do you have a daily creative habit, ritual, something you do every day that either is creative or supports your creativity?
There's 3 things I do that are actually daily. Number 1, I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu almost every day. So I do some form of exercise every single day. If not, I've got a Fitbit, so I go on my 10,000 steps. Just being out the house, being around that helps my mind clear itself and actually helps me do my own thing. The second is kind of a I'm getting back into the habit of doing it, and that is do some sort of artwork for fun, whether that's a little bit of doodling on my notepad, a little bit writing on my own story stuff, playing on my piano that I'm terrible at, or playing on my ukulele that I love, or playing with my cats because I love my pets. That's another thing I do. The third is the most vital that I will tell people always. I take a lot of breaks. I take naps in the day. I play video games during my work time. I do stuff like this because it's designated time. And the reason I have that is because if you're running full, imagine you're a sprinter and now you're put in a marathon, you're going to run full pelt right away and you're going to blow your load. You're not going to be able to make that run. You got to keep taking rests.
Yeah.
So until you can manage that, that's exactly what we're given. So rather, if you're creating something, set yourself little goals. Okay, between 9 a.m. and 12 p.m., I'm not going to do any work. That's my time. That's my time for me to do my thing. So I'm going to go enjoy myself. I'm going to play my piano. I'm going to play video games. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to have a phone call with my best friend. I'm going to do something that's just not time wasting, but it reinvigorates my creativity. And then from 12 till 3, I set myself a goal of writing, say, 1,000 words. So I will sit down and write 1,000 words from 12 till 3. 3 till 5, I'll get something to eat and hang out. And then 5 till 7 or 5 till 6, I'll do my last bit of work. 6 till 12, I'll watch a movie, play some video games, do something crazy that's fun and enjoyable. And by the way, I watch a lot of movies, so I definitely recommend doing that as always. And video games, watch the cutscenes of best-selling video games because they will give you tons of ideas on how to get someone emotionally invested in you.
Oh, and very interesting. Well, this has been fantastic, Adil, and we would love to have you back when your book is ready. Yeah,
I would love to be back.
Yeah, before then, and we're definitely going to be following you, and really, really appreciate the fantastic wisdom and gems that you've shared with us today.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Okay, talk to you soon.
Take care, guys. Bye.
Bye. Thanks so much for joining us for the I Create Daily podcast. Please let us know what creatives you would like us to interview and what topics you would be interested in hearing more about.
And if you enjoyed this show, please leave a review on iTunes. We value your feedback. We read all the reviews, and it just helps us get the word out on the I Create Daily podcast. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.